Hello, in this video I will guide you how to use Apache Tomcat server in Eclipse IDE. You will learn how to add Apache Tomcat server in Eclipse IDE and then deploy a Java web application onto the server, how to start and stop the server, how to run and debug a Java web application running on Tomcat, how to configure a Tomcat server, how to deploy multiple Java web apps on Tomcat, and how to use multiple Tomcat instances in Eclipse IDE. Suppose that you have the following software programs installed on the computer: Java Development Kit JDK, Eclipse IDE, and Apache Tomcat Server. You can use any version of these software programs. You see, this is Eclipse IDE, and I open a Java web project, a bookstore website. Now I will show you how to add Apache Tomcat server to deploy this Java web application and run it. So in Eclipse IDE, you see Java. You see the server's view here. The server's view here. If you don't see it, you can switch to the perspective Java EE. As you can see, the server's view is available in the perspective Java EE. So make sure that in Eclipse IDE you are opening the perspective Java EE. If not, you can change the perspective here, Java EE here, or you can show the server's view by go to the menu window show view and the server's view here. You see, and you can see in the server's view, click this hyperlink. No servers are available. Click this link to create a new server. And here Eclipse allows us to choose various types of server. Here we use Apache Tomcat, so we choose the latest version of Tomcat version 9. So check this Tomcat via 9.0 server. By default, the server's host name is localhost, and click next. And next we need to specify the Tomcat installation directory. So click browse button to point to the installation directory of Tomcat. On my computer I have the Tomcat installation here, Apache Tomcat, and select folder. That's it, the Tomcat installation directory. The default Java runtime environment is JIE used by Eclipse. You can choose different. Here I choose the default JRE for provided by Eclipse Workbench. That's it, and click next. In the next screen, you can choose to add one or more Java web applications to the server. And because I'm opening only one Java web project, so on the left we have the project bookstore website here. Click add button, and it is added, configured to be deployed on the server, and click finish. So that we have added Apache Tomcat server to Eclipse and also deployed our Java web application onto Tomcat. And now let's start this server. You can right click on the server name, and from the context menu you can click start to start the server. And the server's login information will be printed in the console view. As you can see here, the login information printed by Apache Tomcat, and at the end you can see this message: server startup in some milliseconds. And note that the default port number is 8080 here. Let me make the font size bigger so you can see the text easily. So you see, it's very easy to use Apache Tomcat in Eclipse IDE. So here you see the better, larger text in the console view. You can see the last message is server startup in some milliseconds. That means Tomcat is up and running successfully without any problem. And you can see the line starting protocol handler, and the port number 8080 is the default port number to access the deployed web application on the server. If you double clicking on the server name here, you will see the default port number, and you can change it. Here you see in the port section here, you can see the port number for HTTP here, 8080. Later I will show you how to configure Tomcat server. So the server is up and running, and you can see the started is started as synchronized, and the red here, the red icon here, meaning the server is running. Now we can access our web application. I use Chrome browser, and you can see this web application has the name bookstore website. So I access this application using this URL, http localhost 8080 slash and the web application name or context path bookstore website. Enter. And you can see the homepage of the bookstore website application. Perfect, right? I can see details of a book. Add to cart. So that means our Java web application was successfully deployed and running on Apache Tomcat server. And you can see when we use the test the website in the browser, it will print SQL statements in the console view, depending on the actual Java web application. So that's pretty simple to add a Tomcat server and deploy a Java web application and start the server to access the web application. And now you can stop the server by right click and click the stop command here, or you can click the icon, red icon to stop server here. I choose to use the command from the context menu stop. You may see this warning dialog when stopping the server. It's normal, so just click OK, and the server started is stopped. You see. You can delete the deploy web application onto the server here. Right click and select remove. OK to remove. And then you can also deploy a Java web application onto Tomcat server in Eclipse by drag and drop the project onto the server. I will show you. Drop the project here and drag the project from here and drop onto the server, and you see, very quick and easy, right? And you can also run this web application by the context menu, run as, run on server here, run as, run on server. Choose an existing server. Next, finish, and Eclipse we start the server, and you see the server is being started. Done. And Eclipse, we open the internal web browser integrated into the IDE to let us test the website by application right inside Eclipse IDE. As you can see, the homepage of the bookstore website here, very nice, perfect, right? Let's see the books in Java frameworks, Pro Spring 5. You see, very nice. Add to cart. You see, very nice. So you can test Java web application right inside Eclipse IDE using the internal web browser. If you don't see it, you can open that view here. So view as and look for internal web browser here. Open and internal web browser here. Internal web browser. You can see, and we can type the URL of the application. You see, that's it. Very convenient and pretty easy. Let's stop the server and I will show you how to debug a Java web application running on Tomcat in Eclipse. Stop. As you can see, the context menu for the server provides several commands that you can use to manage the server, such as add and remove to deploy or undeploy Java web application. Now, to debug a Java web application running on Apache Tomcat, first you need to set a breakpoint. For example, I will set a breakpoint here in the common filter class. I set a breakpoint here, toggle breakpoint, and you can debug this web application by right-click on the project, debug as, debug on server, finish, and Eclipse. We start the Tomcat server in debugging mode and open the internal web browser, and it will ask to switch to the debug perspective. So check this option, remember my decision, and click switch. So Eclipse will open the debug perspective mode that allows us to debug the web application, and you can see the IDE stop at this line, which we have set breakpoint for here. You see, and you can see switch to the server view, to the Java EE view, and you can see the status of the server is debugging synchronized here, and switch to the debug perspective. You can see, and you can step over, or continue to run the application. And you can see the internal web browser open and displays a web page, and stop the server to stop the debugging session. Stop. That's pretty easy to debug a Java web application on Tomcat server in Eclipse IDE. Next, I will show you how to configure Tomcat server in the server's view. Double click on the server name here to open its configuration editor. Double clicking, and you can see this is the configuration editor for Tomcat server. And as you can see, by default, Eclipse makes a copy of Tomcat. As you can see here, it uses workspace metadata does not modify Tomcat installation. And the server path here, deploy path here, that means Eclipse actually run Apache Tomcat server in a separate directory. It doesn't modify the Tomcat installation. And the most frequently configuration for Tomcat server is changing the port number for accessing the web application. Here, as you can see, the port number for HTTP default is 8080, and the Tomcat admin port is used by the IDE for starting, stopping, and you can configure the timeouts here. Timeout when start the server, stop the server. That's it. And there are also some options here. You can see. And in the project explorer view, you can see the server's project here that contains configuration files for the Tomcat instance running inside Eclipse IDE. So you can also edit these configuration files to configure the server. For example, to configure the users in Tomcat, you can see. So Eclipse makes a copy of the configuration of the server here, the server's project in the workspace, and you can modify this configuration files to configure the server. Also changing the port number, you can change the port number here in the server XML file. As you can see, the connector port for HTTP is 8080 here. Now I change the port number for this Tomcat instance from 8080 to just port 80, and click save button here to save the changes. And you open the server XML file here, and you will see now. Let's start this server with the new port number. It seems to be that it doesn't change the port number. It is still 8080 here. Now let me check. Double clicking on the server name, the port number is still 8080. Save. You need to close this editor and click save to save the changes. And then in the server XML file, I think it will update the port number. You see the port number update to 80 here for HTTP here. Now let's start the server. Restart the server. Restart. And you can see in the console view logging information, you can see the port number changed to 80 here. And now we can access our web application without entering a port number, because the 80 is the default port for web access. So if you try to access this website with the port 8080, you will get this error. Now we can delete the port number because it is 80 by default. You see, perfect, right? And now let's stop the server, and I will show you. Sorry, and I will show you how where the server, where Eclipse deploys the web application on the file system. You need to delete the web application deploy and start a server with no web application. Okay, that's it. And double clicking on the server view here, and we should see now you can modify the server locations here. By default, it uses host-based metadata, and the server path here you can see, which is relative to the project directory. So I copy this path, and you can see the deploy path is WTP web apps. Now open the project directory, properties, location here. This is a project directory, and you can see the dot metadata directory for the workspace. And I paste the path that points to the deploy path. You can see our Java web application is deployed on this here in this web app directory here. No, in the WTP web apps root. We don't see because we don't have any deploy web application now. Let's deploy our web application again and to see. So drag and drop the project here, save. Sorry, we need to restart. It's better to restart. Close this. Don't save. Okay. Now, in the WTP web app directory, you can see our bookstore website is deployed, and you can see its files here. So that's how to know the file system where our Java web application deployed on Tomcat in Eclipse IDE. You can see it in the workspace directory in this part. So close this. And as I have shown you, if you want to change the default location, you need to start a server with no deploy application to update the server location path here. You see, use custom location, and default it is in the metadata directory deploy web path here. Next, I will show you how to deploy multiple Java web application on a single instance of Tomcat server in Eclipse. So I import the second project into this workspace. Here I have the paper integration example project here. This project has error because the runtime environment for Apache Tomcat. So let me configure it. So I choose runtime for Apache Tomcat 9. Okay, so the error has gone. And now to deploy the second web application onto Tomcat, just drag and drop the project onto the server here. Very easy. And you can see now we have two Java web applications deployed on Tomcat. And to access the second web application, You need to restart the server. Restart. Okay, the server has been restarted. Now, let's access the second web application using internal web browser. Windows show view as a internal web browser, and I type the URL for the second web application, which is paper test here, as you can see. http localhost slash paper test checkout.html. And you can see the user interface of the second web application. Click checkout to proceed to paper payment page. As you can see, you can also access the second application in the Chrome browser. http localhost paper test slash checkout html, and you can see proceed to checkout. Perfect, right? And we can still access the first web application, bookstore website. Perfect, right? So you can manage each individual web application inside Tomcat instance by right click, and you see the context menu to remove each web application. Now I want to remove the PayPal integration example from this server. Remove. Okay. Next, I will show you how to run multiple instances of Tomcat server inside Eclipse IDE. For example, I want to run the bookstore website on instance of Tomcat at port 8080, and I want to run the PayPal integration example here on another instance of Tomcat at port a different port 8080. So right click in the server's view, and you can see the menu new server here, and choose Tomcat 9. And now in the next screen, I choose to deploy the PayPal integration example to the second instance. And you can see in the server's view now we have two instances of Tomcat server, and I need to configure the second instance to listening to be running on different port number to avoid conflict. And as you can see, I change this port number to 8080 for the second instance. Close and save change. And for the first instance, you can see the HTTP port number is 8080. Let me open. Sorry, I have changed the port number for the first instance to 8080. As 8080. And now I change the port number for the instance running a PayPal example here to a different port number, port 80. Okay, close, save the change. Don't save. Now let's start each instance. Start this instance first for the bookstore website project. This instance is started is still stopping. Okay, so just delete this instance and add a new one. New server bookstore. Finish. And we need to change the port number. Port number 8080. And this is also, let's see, for the PayPal integration. Port number 80. Okay. Don't save. Now let's start the first instance for the bookstore website. Start. And when multiple instances of Tomcat running, there will be multiple instances of the console view. And you can see the first console view for the Tomcat instance listening on port 8080 here. And you can see this server started, but the second is stopped. Now let's access the bookstore website on the first instance. Refresh this instance listening on port 8080. Okay, and you can see it works. And now let's start the second Tomcat instance here for the PayPal integration example. And you will see the this error reported by Eclipse port 8005 required by Tomcat already in use. That means we need to change the Tomcat admin port also besides the STD port. So we need to change the Tomcat admin port for the second instance here to 8006. Save and start the second instance. Start. And you can see the second console view for the second instance of Tomcat. You can switch between the console view here. You see, currently there are two active console views for two instances of Tomcat here, as you can see. And in this console view, the port number is 80 here. And let's access the second web application, paper integration. Refresh. It works, you see. So that's how to run multiple instances of Tomcat servers inside Eclipse IDE. Just right click new server here and make sure that you change the Tomcat admin port and Tomcat STD port to different values. So multiple instances of the servers can running inside the IDE. Awesome! So far you have learned how to use Tomcat in Eclipse IDE, how to add Apache Tomcat server in the IDE, and then how to deploy Java application, how to stop the server, run and debug a Java application, how to configure the server, changing port number, server deploy path, server location, and how to deploy multiple Java web application on a single instance of Tomcat, and how to use multiple Tomcat instances inside Eclipse IDE. I hope you will find this video helpful. Please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and share this video. Thank you.